People have been asking me what I think of the Adidas Frog button jacket. It's quite clever to use a quintessentially Chinese element juxtaposed against their stripes. And frankly, that's enough for a fast fashion sports brand like Adidas. But it's culturally tokenistic. Influencers and fashion commenters have put a lot of meaning retrospectively into that jacket, with the panko reference of the terracotta soldiers, the 2,000 years of history, to the Qing dynasty, menswear, and then adding it to Adidas as if it's got such a long lineage and that Adidas was referencing to all that cultural history before that. A bit of overstatement of what it really was. Visual resemblance isn't the same as structural or cultural understanding. It's as if putting a historical photo next to a modern garment suddenly makes it very historical and very cultural. Traditional Chinese garments were highly functional, not in opposition to beauty or symbolism, but in conversations with them. So the panko you see that's really beautifully designed actually has a very real purpose of putting two pieces of separate fabrics together, and to take into consideration all the movement, all these different things that you have to bear in mind for decorum and for other considerations as well. So when you ignore all these structural purposes, you kind of take away the meaning of the panko and just taking it as aesthetic, which is why when Adidas put the panko or frog button on top of their zip, literally in Chinese we call it 脱裤子放屁, taking off your pants to fart, zipping up, and then you put on a panko just for what? For aesthetic, right? And maybe that's how fashion behaves. Function becomes irrelevant over time because there's new technology like the zip. With the zip, who wants to play with panko unless it's like Adidas aesthetic, right? And an interesting point to note was that back in 2001, when the Chinese APEC Summit made world leaders wear tangzhuang, which is male jacket with panko, it triggered the Hanfugirl revival movement because Chinese people were like, 5,000 years of Chinese civilization, and all we have is just the frog button and the Mandarin collar and the kind of look to represent the Chinese culture. So that's why Hanfugirl started to come about, and they kind of discovered new aesthetics and new fashions that the Chinese had throughout the 2,000, 3,000 years of history. So it's quite interesting that despite all these Hanfugirl revival movements and all these different possibilities of representing Chinese fashion, we go back to the 1900 representation of Asian